This is Ethan, and I'm here with Dave, and together we are Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast, episode 203-inch.
On this episode, we interview Dan Butts, the production designer from Weird the Al Yankovic Story, who has extensively worked with Weird Al, as well as many other comedy legends throughout his career.
It's Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast.
It's a podcast about Weird Al.
It's Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast.
Seriously, the whole podcast is about Weird
It's
Al.
Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast.
You don't have to listen, but we're glad you are.
Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast.
Hello, Ethan. How is it going?
Oh, hey Dave, everything's great. Thanks for asking. How are you doing? Did you get a haircut? You look really nice. Is that a new shirt? No, I've seen that shirt before.
Well, thank you, Ethan. I'm actually doing really great because we heard a lot of awesome feedback on our interview with the great Jamie Kennedy, who, of course, is the editor for Weird the Al Yankovic Story.
Oh, it's been so great hearing from everyone. And our friend and listener, filmmaker Eddie Schmidt, had this to say over on X or Twitter or whatever they're calling themselves these days. He said, "This is one of the best talks I've heard about how an editor works. Huge respect for editors. I even used to be one, and this really spotlights craft and technique."
Wow, those are very high compliments. Thank you so much for sharing that, Eddie.
We've got yet another great interview coming up this episode, but first, let's jump to what's happening in Weird Al related news.
This past week, the episode of Disney XD's animated series, Haley's on It, featuring Weird Al, has finally aired.
Yes, it's episode 15 of season 1, and the first section is called The Fart of War, and the second one, the one that features Al, is called Who Let the Dogs Out?
In the episode, Weird Al plays the role of a very Willy Wonka-esque potato chip factory owner named Chip Dingle.
Truly, the role Weird Al was born to play, someone addicted to spuds with the last name Dingle.
This episode is brought to you in part by vegan burrito restaurant Burrito, home of the 2-pound double wrapped in a quesadilla Burrito, and Wizard Burger in Albany, New York. Come on down to Burrito and Burrito, your Burrito, and Wizard Burger for mouth-watering, loaded, dare I say beefy, vegan burgers. From Albany to Uranus, Burrito and Wizard Burger feed the hungry with out-of-this-world, plant-based, real food, always vegan style. Visit burritosquare.com and wizardburger.com to order ahead.
This coming Friday, August 18th, it's John Bermuda Schwartz's birthday!
Be sure to wish him a happy birthday. And from all of us here at Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast, happy birthday, Bermuda.
And if you can believe it, Friday is also the 30th anniversary of Livin' in the Fridge being recorded.
Well, that settles it. I am definitely having liver cake and woolly mammoth steak to celebrate.
On behalf of Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast, we'd like to share the following message in advance of our interview with Weird the Al Yankovic Story production designer Dan Butts amid the current Hollywood strikes.
We have not been contacted by Roku or anyone requesting promotion of the film Weird the Al Yankovic Story of any kind. We want to state that while we are discussing the film Weird the Al Yankovic Story, we are in no way promoting the film nor showing support for film studios that do not support the writers and actors currently on strike.
The intention of this podcast is to create an entertaining archive of information about Weird Al and his career, life, and supporters for both entertainment and informational purposes. Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast supports the WGA and SAG and all creatives in the film industry and beyond.
And with that being said, we are so excited to get to this episode's guest. Take it away, Ethan.
Dave and I are absolutely thrilled to welcome someone to the podcast who has worked with Weird Al extensively over the past couple decades and extensively on Weird the Al Yankovic Story. Please welcome to the podcast production designer, Dan Butts. How's it going, Dan?
Good. Hey, guys. Thanks for having me on this. Super excited.
Yeah, we're very excited. You have such an extensive resume working with Weird Al. It's going to take us quite a while to get through all of this.
Yeah, I hope you have a lot of time set aside for this because we're going to go deep.
And yeah, there's so much to cover with Weird Al, and there's a couple other things outside of Weird Al that I think we want to ask you about. But before we get too ahead of ourselves, it would be great if you could tell us about what it is to be a production designer.
I have no idea, and I'm actually still trying to figure it out. I was going to ask you two. So a production designer is kind of in charge of designing the sets and environments. That could be helping to figure out what the locations are for a given film, or designing a set from kind of the ground up. We kind of reread the script, we take cues from that, and then work with the director and the cinematographer and try to figure out like what is the look we're trying to achieve with this. So that's basically that's what we do, and then we go about designing it, having it built, having it painted, having the finishes put on, and then hiring the set decorators who kind of fill whatever the environment is with the appropriate items that need to go there, and then working with props and the other departments to kind of make sure it's a cohesive whole. Does that make sense?
No, that was good. That was a good explanation. Thank you for summarizing that up for us and our listeners. Now, you obviously need to be involved pretty early on, I would think, in the pre-production. How early generally are you in the whole process? Do you get involved?
It kind of depends project to project. It's actually not too strange to be hired before the directors even.
Interesting.
Oh, wow.
If it's a TV show, a lot of times the showrunner or producer will hire me, and we'll kind of try to figure stuff out, and then they'll bring in the whoever the directors are going to be. So it kind of depends on this. Obviously Eric was already involved, and it was kind of amazing because normally when you try to get a movie or try to get hired on a movie, there's a big song and dance you have to do. I usually have to do big presentations where I pull images and I, pitch like, oh, I think it should look like this, and this place should be this, and things like that. But this was the best job ever in that I literally just got a call from Al, and he said, you want to do a movie? And I was like, what? Can every job be like that?
Well, so we know that the film essentially was announced in January of 2022 and then started filming the next month. At what point would you say did you actually get that phone call from Al?
I feel like it was November. I know what was great about it was I had the whole like Christmas vacation to kind of really dive into the research and stuff, because a lot of times they'll hire you at the last minute because they don't want to pay you for anything more.
Right.
But I would much rather like know what I'm doing before and like not even be paid. So like this was perfect. So like during Christmas and that whole time I was, really digging into all the research of, what I wanted to look like and, different things I could show Al and Eric that could get them excited about what I was hoping to do.
And you say it was an ideal job because you get a phone call rather than having to put together a presentation. But was it also an ideal job just from the subject matter?
Oh, it was the best. It was like if I could dream of a job of like, what if we could make a movie like this? It was basically that. I mean, I wish it was longer. Like I wish the saddest part about the movie and the most impressive thing at the same time was that we, shot it in 18 days, which I'm sure you've heard 1,000 times.
Yeah.
But from our world, like of doing this, that's incredibly unheard of.
Right.
So the sad part was like, I wish it was, a 1-year job.
I can only imagine.
I would have loved to have just kept going on it.
Now, are there more challenges with it being such a short shoot versus, let's say, like a longer shoot, as far as getting everything together that you need to for each individual day and set that you need to build and put together?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, I know you've talked to a lot of people that have worked on this film, and I've done a number of films and TV shows, and what was so great about this is, and I don't think I've ever seen this before, is everyone was there for kind of the right reason. You know what I mean? Like we all wanted to make the best movie possible.
Absolutely.
And it really is like a group effort on these things. If one department is like not together, it can kind of derail the whole thing. So like, even like props, if the props people aren't on it, like you could lose 2 hours, and losing 2 hours in a day on an 18-day shoot would be insane. It would,
Right.
could wreck the whole project. So it was really great in that everybody was so into doing this movie, like from every department, from top to bottom, the PAs, the craft service people, the makeup artists, like everyone was like totally into it. I think we were all Al fans too, for one, which helped a lot.
Absolutely.
But also
yeah.
we had a real like other people talk about this on projects, and I sometimes it's true and sometimes it's not, but we had a like kind of a big like no dick policy, you know, like it's like you couldn't be a jerk working on this, and no one was. Everybody was so great, and so like if there was an issue, you know, people could talk about it and get it figured out before anything became a problem. And it was amazing how smoothly it all went, like especially with like COVID going on, and like if Daniel or any of the actors or any of the key people had, you know, gotten COVID during the thing, it would have been disastrous. Because also Daniel had a hard out, which I'm sure you've heard. So it wasn't like, oh, we'll just push a week. We couldn't. If we didn't shoot during these dates, the movie wouldn't have gotten made.
Oh, wow.
Wow. Yeah, I don't know that I had heard that.
Oh, maybe I wasn't supposed to tell him. Just kidding.
No, but I can definitely relate to a lot of the things you're saying, because everyone, without exception, that Dave and I have met or talked to that worked on or were involved in the film share the exact same sentiment. And yes, everyone seems to have already been a Weird Al fan, and it seems to be a dream project for them. So it's pretty incredible what you can do with that sort of passion, even with a smaller budget and a smaller time frame to film it.
Yeah. But I mean, also the fact that, like, I mean, Eric is so together as a director. Like, he just knew exactly what he wanted, and it wasn't like, you know, there wasn't a lot of like, oh, let's try this, let's try that. It's like he and Al had kind of already figured out, like, the tone and how they wanted to get it done. And so it was always very decisive, which is great, because you don't want to be doing like 20 takes trying to explore something when you have no time. So, you know, and Daniel Radcliffe was so amazing that I was like, oh, he nailed that. Let's do another one for fun and then move on. Like, you know,
right.
So,
So going all the way back to when you first started working in production design, how did you get started? What did you go to school for?
well, this was the 1800s, and no, so I randomly did go to school for film. I went to Boston University, and I had no idea what production design was, but I had always had an art background. I did a lot of art as a kid, and I actually worked for a bunch of artists when I was growing up, because I came from this place called Laguna Beach, which was randomly like a big artist's hamlet, we'll call it. But now it's like a super rich place where people live, and I couldn't afford to even visit. But back then it was like a pretty small beach town that had a big artist community. So I was always very involved in art, but was really into film. And so when I went to college back east, I went to film school, and it wasn't until later that I came back to Los Angeles and started like PAing on jobs. And it was kind of like, what are those people doing? That looks fun. Like, who's painting that wall? How'd they pick that color? What's that about? That I started. And so then I started like kind of like hanging out with the art departments on the different things I was PAing on. And then eventually got with like an art crew and kind of worked my way up that way.
And what was your first project working with Weird Al? How did you get involved with that?
That was very strange in that at the time I had been designing like kind of smaller like music videos and commercials, and there was a company I'd worked with a lot. And so you get kind of on a roll with a different company or whatever, and you start working on kind of everything they're doing. And so they had hired me they're like, oh, we're doing this music video. It's for Hanson, which was a boy band in the whatever early 90s and late 90s. And so I'm like, yeah, sure, I'm available. And so they said, well, can you come by the office? And then as I was on my way to the office, they were like, actually, can you meet the director at his house? Because he can't come to the office right now. I said, sure, no problem. I said, by the way, who is the director? Because at that point I didn't even know. I kind of assumed it was a director I'd been working with there. But they're like, oh, it's a new director we're working with. And I said, who is it? And it's like, oh, it was this British woman. She's like, it's Al Yankovic. And I go, Weird Al? And she goes, he seems perfectly normal to me. And that's when I realized she had no idea who Weird Al was. I don't know if it was a UK thing or I don't know where she grew up, but
Wow.
I was like, so I didn't fully know, but I figured there could only be one Al Yankovic.
Right.
So
Right.
so I show up on Al's door in the Hollywood Hills. I knock on the door, and sure enough, it's Weird Al that answers the door. And so he ushers me in, and he's like, "I'm so sorry, but I'm having all this work done on my house, so we're gonna have to meet back here." And I was like, "Okay, it's fine." And so we go back, and it's his bedroom. It's the master bedroom.
Oh, wow.
And we're talking about this Hanson video that we're going to do, which is going to involve it involves concert footage, but the lead into the concert footage is this weird thing with Gloria Stewart from Titanic, and so I have to like recreate a stateroom from Titanic. And he's like, "Well, let me show you like the footage that we're cutting into, just so you have a clear idea of like the transition, what's transitioning to." And so there's nowhere else to sit, so we're sitting on his bed watching Hanson videos, and at one point I just start laughing, and he's like, "What's wrong?" And I was like, when I woke up this morning, this is not how I thought my day was going to be going. I was like, I did not at any time think, oh, I'm going to be watching Hanson videos on Weird Al's bed with him later. So anyway, so that was the beginning of our relationship. That job was super fun and went well, and then we got along great, and I kind of worked on a lot of stuff with him after that.
Well, so how was it actually, beyond sitting in Al's bed watching Hanson videos? How was it like working with him?
Well, it's funny. It's like the craziest thing because, and I didn't know if this was because, I mean, back then I was like, is he just trying to like overcompensate because people will think he's just Weird Al, this, crazy performer? But like, he was the most prepared director I had worked with. He had copious notes, knew exactly what he wanted, and it gets even crazier when he does his own videos, because he'll know like measure by measure in a song, like I want this to happen then.
Wow.
Like not a second after, not a second before. And it's so great because, and that's, it's also kind of like the Weird movie with Eric as well. Like when you're that prepared, you get so much more kind of bang for your buck because you're utilizing the time in the best way possible.
Right.
But I was so impressed. Because I'd worked with a lot of knuckleheads before that. And and you're like, oh, I'm doing a Hanson video. I'm sure this will be really together.
Right.
But it ended up being like the most structured, like smart production I'd worked on in a long time. So it was that was really great. And so then I was like, I'll work on anything you want to work on. Like, and he's been like that in everything he's directed. He's always on it. It's never half-assed. It's always like so well thought out. It's amazing.
And when a director does come in that prepared and have such a concrete idea of what they want, does that make it more difficult for you because you're not able to be as creative, or does it add to your creativity?
No, he allows for freedom of creativity. It's just more like the structure of like how it's laid out, like kind of, I mean, I can create the set kind of how I want to, but he's smart enough to be like, the camera's never going to pan more left of that lamp.
Oh, wow.
So I'm like, okay, great. So I don't have to spend a bunch of money and time like building out the the other part just in case.
Wow.
I mean,
Cool.
Usually,
Okay.
usually you do that anyway, but like he is that literal. Like if he tells you that, you absolutely can believe him. You know what I mean? Like he's like, I'll never see past that. You're like, okay, I don't have to do anything past that. And so like it's great because like all the money, all the resources can go toward really what's on the screen, and you're not wasting a lot, which
Right.
in our industry we do a lot, because I've worked with directors that like, you know, you build a three wall set and they'll go in the set and turn around to the wall that's not there and be like, what if there was a wall here? And what if we shot the whole thing here?
Oh no.
Wow.
So yeah, he allows for things to happen. He allows for creativity and is always willing to like hear like, you know, a pitch, you know, like, well, this could be funny. So it's nice that way. I tend to work on a lot of comedy stuff, and he was very gracious to me and being like, if you think of funny stuff and want to pitch it, that's great. Whereas a lot of people, like, you know, they will never let you do that, or will hate you for doing
Right,
it. But,
right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, so I don't know that we said the song, but the Hanson video that Al directed that you worked on is called River. And so you really just worked on the Gloria Stewart part, the beginning and the end of the video.
Exactly. Yeah. It was like yeah, exactly. The head and the tail of it, where Al has a brief part, I believe.
Yeah.
In a wig, which threw a lot of people off.
Yeah.
And would you be responsible for like setting up that big Hanson shrine that was going on in the background there?
Yeah. That was actually, so that set was a complete build. We did that on a stage in Hollywood.
Oh, wow.
We built the whole
Okay.
thing. And then it was really funny because I remember at one point, it's my first time working with Al, so I'm like, I don't know how he works or things at that point. And I went to go get kind of a prop approved. I think it was like a Walkman or something. And I was like, what do you think of this? And he's like, yeah, it's good. Can you run it by them? I said, when you say them, do you mean the 12, 13, and 14-year-olds over there? Those guys? And he's like, yeah? Question mark. I was like, so my job has come to getting approvals from teenagers? And then it was hilarious. So I had to go over there and be like, what do y'all think of this? And they're like, we think it should be this. And of course they had pitched something that was like, I can't remember what it was, but it was like some super trademarked thing. And I was like, well, then I'm like, I guess I'm going to give a little lesson in like legal clearances for TV and film. So I'm like, well, guys, actually you can't do that because that company could then sue us for using their product. And I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, that's dope. And then we ended up using whatever we had.
Right.
But I would torture Al after that. Be like, oh, well, unlike every job after that, I'd be like, do I have to go get this approved by the Hanson brothers?
I'm actually really impressed that they were involved that much. I wouldn't have even expected them to be on set.
I don't think I mean they weren't. I think that's a good question. They were on set for some other reason. I feel like I think we shot some other thing with them maybe.
Okay.
But he, Al's the nicest guy in the world, so of course he's going to be inclusive and be like, well,
Right.
it's their video. Let's see what they think.
Right.
And then one of the gags is she tosses the Hanson CD into the ocean. Are you involved in that? Like filming? Do you source the water? How does that work?
I found the tank because the camera I think was underneath, and so I had to find a large, super clear plexiglass tank that we could fill with water.
Oh, cool.
So the camera could be underneath.
Oh.
I know it's such a funny thing. Like it's just a kind of a one-off shot, but like that was probably the hardest part of our shoot was getting that right. Because the CD you want it to go a certain way so it hits the light, and it ended up looking beautiful.
It does.
But yeah, that was just my job. I was the tank guy.
And so how much time passed between working on, this Hanson video with Al and actually doing another project with him?
I don't think it was I don't think it was that much longer. I think we did the Hanson thing in '98, and then in '99 we did Saga Begins,
Okay.
which was a dream job because I've always been kind of a Star Wars nerd.
Oh, perfect for you then, yes.
Yeah, so it was like, wait, I get to do what? I get to recreate the Mos Eisley bar?
I know, right?
And they're like, not only do you get to create this cantina, but you have $20 to do it in 40 minutes. But it was still, it was the best. It's hard to watch for me now because like I wanted to do so much more, but the resources were super tight and everything. But I'm still happy with the way it came out. Like I remember working all night on building the guitar that Al plays, trying to figure out how to make like a Star Wars type guitar, and I ended up like finding some like weird patterned linoleum that I kind of glued on the guitar and then like rubbed silver paint and black paint on and then rubbed it off and tried to make it look old, and then I pulled some like pieces from old radios and knocked it on there, and it was very fun making that piece. Same with the piano.
Well, it's perfect because, I mean, both the guitar and the piano, they look like something straight out of Star Wars. I mean, it did an excellent job on those.
Yay, thank you. That's what I was going for. I think I think he has the guitar. I think. I'm not sure. I don't know what happened to that. Hope it's somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably a question that Dave and I are going to be asking after each thing that you have created. Where is it now? And can we have it?
Can I get it?
Can I have it?
There might be a few things I have.
Okay. All right.
Oh, okay.
But not the guitar.
Oh. Well, forget it. This interview's over.
Exactly.
This is all a ruse to get the guitar.
I know. I'll make you another one.
All right.
Ooh.
So there's two real main parts of Saga as far as set is concerned. It's the big sand dune of Tatooine and then the Mos Eisley bar, as you mentioned. Were you involved in finding those locations?
No. I mean, we all looked at pictures of where it was going to be, but it was pretty great. Like the photos we looked at were like, oh, this is perfect. But so I wasn't really super involved in that part other than getting making sure the piano got there.
Mm-hmm.
I think we shot that part first. So I think I was on stage trying to finish up the cantina at that point.
Oh, while they were shooting?
Yeah. So, cause it was a pretty tight schedule as it kind of always is with these things. So, I was doing that and I was like, I was happy to not have to go out to the desert. So,
Right.
From people that we've talked to on the podcast, that was like a 100-degree day and people were like fainting from exhaustion and heat. So you probably had the better spot to work.
for sure. Given a desert or a bar,
right?
I'll pick the bar.
I think the bar.
Was that Craig that you talked to about that? Probably.
Yes, Craig Armstrong was great to chat with, and he shared a lot of stuff. You probably worked with him quite a bit, I would assume.
Yeah, he did a bunch of these things that we all worked on together. He was there
great.
For all of it.
That's great. So in the cantina, there's a bunch of interesting costumes and things going on. Were you involved in like any of that stuff, or was it more the physical props you were working on?
Yeah, no, I didn't do any like the prosthetic things and any of the costumes and thing. Which those people did such a great job.
Yeah.
Especially given like I'm sure their budgets and resources were just as tight as mine. So no, I just created the space and like I found these like cool like weird light fixtures that I put on the back wall and stuff to kind of give it a more interesting sense. Obviously, like, we couldn't spend money to like rebuild it like exactly like the film, so it was just kind of trying to get the same tone and put it in that world, which for a Star Wars nerd like myself, which was super fun.
And do you recall what location that was shot at?
The stage was a stage that's not there anymore. It was called Praxis. It was in North Hollywood, on Tahunga Avenue, and we used to shoot there a lot. Like we shot some LTVs there.
Oh wow.
We shot Pentiums there and Saga Begins.
Oh, cool.
And yeah, we would go there a lot. I think it was actually randomly. Speaking of Star Wars, I think originally it was one of the Star Wars effects stages where
Oh
they
wow.
would do some of their VFX. Not VFX at that point. I guess it was all practical, but some of their effects shots with the models and miniatures and stuff.
Oh, very cool.
No, rewatching the video for Saga Begins, I don't know how I've missed this my entire life, or maybe it's just my memory is bad, but Yoda makes a cameo in the crowd shot.
Yeah.
Did you put Yoda there? Did you source Yoda?
We did. Yeah, we had. I can't believe it. I can't remember if it was a mask or a model. Like, I think it was like a model that we got.
Yeah, I think it's a
somehow.
model. Yeah.
Yeah.
It looks like a model.
But yeah, that was fun. And then I don't know that did this ever happen? You would know better than me. But I remember at one point some people from Lucasfilms that just worked there said they would enhance the video and add effects. Did that ever happen? Are there two versions of Saga or no?
I don't know about that. I haven't heard that story.
Okay.
I haven't heard anything about that. I mean, if that was in talks, I don't know that it happened, or if it did happen, it didn't make it out. You know, that's not knowledge that I'm aware of or we're aware of.
Yeah, because I remember Al asking. He asked me and I think our DP Clyde Smith if we wanted to go up there because he was going to have a meeting with some of the people that just worked there. They just reached out and said, "This is amazing. We want to help. We know how to do all this stuff." And
Wow.
I was so bummed because I was working on something else and couldn't break away. And I remember being so sad, but I guess it never happened. It probably never happened because Lucasfilm was like, you can't use our people and our effects things for free. But I'm pretty sure he got to go up there and at least chat with them, which would have been insane just to get a tour.
Oh, that's really cool.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Well, something must have happened at some point with Lucasfilm because, and I don't have the information in front of me, but the Saga Begins does show up on a Blu-ray release of one of the Star Wars films.
Really?
Dave, do you remember anything else about that?
Yeah, I do remember that it was released on an official Blu-ray release of the Star Wars saga, which makes it a parody officially licensed by Lucasfilm. So there we go. You are now a part of the Star Wars universe, Dan.
Oh, finally. That being said, I'd rather design a movie if you know anybody.
Okay.
Okay, we'll put some calls into Lucasfilm for you.
Yeah.
We'll see what we can do.
The next Andor, I'm totally available.
Well, so you mentioned that the same stage is where you guys shot all about the Pentiums, and I believe that was the next thing you worked on Al with.
That is true. Yeah, we that was a super fun shoot. Yeah, we did there was like a Comdex convention that we did for the stage show, and then we built this crazy set that was like it was modeled after this like Notorious B.I.G. video. I think it was called like Mo Money, Mo Problems, I think, where it looked like the people were like in this long black tunnel with like tubes and stuff. And so I'm sure the real video cost $1 billion to make, but we did not have very much money. But I feel like we kind of pulled it off, and we had Drew Carey in it, who kind of just riffed with Al during it. So it was a lot of fun. And then we shot at some office somewhere where we had dancers and things. I'm still happy about the way that video turned out. I think it looks great.
Looking at the Mo Money, Mo Problems promo shots, you nailed it. It's identical.
Oh yeah.
How did you pull that off?
Well, the funny thing was we had to it was hard to figure out how it was going to look because we were building it without the camera crew there. So I don't know what his lenses are going to look like. I can't afford a finder, which is like what they call the things that the DPs look through to try to figure out like what lens it is. I knew they wanted to match that look as much as possible, and it's kind of like a what we call a fisheye lens kind of vibe. And so I drove to Home Depot and I bought a peephole thing that you put in a door to look at like who's visiting your door.
Oh,
Because it kind of has that kind of same vibe.
Yeah.
And I used that to line up the shot, and my crew thought I was absolutely insane. They're like, we're building this thing around this like tiny thing you're holding against your eye, and I'm like, it's all I got. But it worked. It randomly worked.
Oh man.
Yeah, one of the wacky art department things you do, trying to figure stuff out.
that's so crazy.
And I guess I'm just curious about how it was actually built too. Is it a hallway, or how would you describe it?
Yeah, I think it was like, if I remember, I did kind of like a forced perspective hallway. So like it's, wide at the mouth of it, and then it kind of gets smaller as you go back down.
Okay.
And then staggered the lights and used smaller lights as it goes further away to kind of make it
interesting.
seem like it's longer.
That is so cool.
But I remember they had a very shallow world that they could work in. I remember like watching Drew Carey and being like, "You're going too far, too far," because they only had like a few feet to kind of mess with. Like at one point, I think he like grabs Al's face and like pushes him out of the way, and I'm like, "You were gonna break the set."
Although that would have been a hilarious part of the video.
Yeah.
Destroying your set, your wonderful set.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We also got to use a car in that video that was it was a take on the UHF car. It's like this little baby Metropolitan in the beginning of the video where the doves come out.
Yeah.
It was a little callback.
Were you involved in finding the car and finding the doves and that kind of
No,
stuff?
I think I had to find it, but it was definitely Al's idea.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Which was great. It was so fun because you look at it from the front, and you're like, "Oh, it's a cool car," and then you cut to the side, and you're like, "Oh, it's a little baby car."
And in the part where it's actually filmed in the office, did you design what was in the cubes, or were you just using what was actually in people's cubes?
Yeah. No, we brought all that stuff. It was an empty, unused office.
Oh, okay.
And then for like the Emo Phillips part, that was a build. That was his little office thing was was something we built on stage.
That's cool.
Wow. So I didn't think I realized that office was like an abandoned, empty office, and you had to bring in everything. I just assumed it was like just a regular office that you had access to, and maybe you brought in a few props just to spice it up a little bit. But wow, that's incredible. That really looks like any office I've been in.
Yeah.
So that's an excellent build there.
Well, I think they did have desks and chairs, but I think like all the small stuff and things we did.
Yeah.
I mean, we do that often, but not on a Weird Al video budget. We don't. I always love that video. I think the song, he did such a great job with the song.
Oh yeah.
And it's just, it makes me laugh every time.
Yeah, by far is one of my favorite Weird Al music videos. Is definitely It's All About the Pentiums. It just, there's so much to look at, and so much fun, and so much energy in that video. It's great.
Awesome.
Now, both The Saga Begins and All About the Pentiums have a lot of like kind of crowd type scenes. Do you make a cameo in either of those videos?
No. I should. I don't know why. Probably because I think I had long hair during that time. And I'm like, there was no place for me in Pentiums.
You were too cool looking. You couldn't.
No, I was also probably too busy. I was probably covered in paint. Yeah, we kind of, we would kind of do everything in those videos during that time. So like we would build it, we would decorate it, we would create the props, we would do it all. So it was all it was a very hectic thing. We didn't have time to be like, hey, I'll jump in this scene.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is too bad, because it'd be super fun to be able to look back on that now and be like, hey, that's me.
Yeah.
Like Tony Hawk and the other Weird Al video.
Right. Smells like Nirvana.
Right.
Yeah. amazing.
Now, you touched on it a little bit. I wanted to ask you about that. Obviously, you're doing a lot of preparation before the shooting starts, but as the shooting starts, how much are you in there tweaking things here and there as the actual filming is going on?
A lot. I'll usually be next to the director, looking at the monitor and just making sure everything looks the way we want it to look.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's part of the gig too, just to kind of make sure it all works. I mean, sometimes you have to, leapfrog a little bit. Like with Saga, like I had to let them do the desert thing, but also knowing that there wasn't a lot I could do out there. But sometimes I'll have to go ahead to the next set to make sure that that's ready and leave some of my people behind to kind of oversee.
Right.
But for the most part, I'm usually right there. Just making sure it all looks good.
And my understanding was that maybe all, or at least the emo section of the Pentiums was shot like at ridiculously hours in the morning, like 3 a.m. or something like that. Do you have any memory of that?
That's just any memory of a music video shoot.
That's just normal for you.
Yeah, it's like they pay people on a day rate, and they're like, a day is 24 hours, right? And so it's not uncommon. I mean, we're also like, you see the production value and stuff in these videos is super great. I mean, a lot of times Al's trying to like recreate videos that cost hundreds of thousands of dollars, but we're doing it for $10,000.
Right.
So you kind of use everything you have, and a lot of times that means okay, those shots we're gonna get at 2 a.m. So it wasn't uncommon. But we also, the great thing about all those videos is it was the same crew that pretty much did most of them. So like, we all knew each other. We all knew it was the deal, and we all loved Al. So
right.
It wasn't a big issue. There's not a lot of egos on that set, so it was great.
So you also worked on Al TV. Do you remember what segments or what parts you worked on?
God, I don't. I want to say number 9. I don't know why.
Okay.
When I was looking back at them, I was like, that one looks kind of familiar. I don't know. I feel like I did a couple of them. I know there was a hamster involved. I know we shot at the same stage that we did the other stuff.
Okay.
But yeah, sorry. I should have gone back and checked those out, because.
Well, if IMDb can be believed, they say you worked on the one which was for the Poodle Hat album, which was done in 2003.
Oh, look at that. Look at you. You two know your stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. Well, congrats to me. That sounds fun.
Now, Dan, something very controversial in the world of the Weird Al fandom is whether or not the video for Bob is a music video or just like a video that exists, but without being designated a music video. And that was part of that Al TV that IMDb claims you worked on. So you worked on what I would say is the Bob music video, and what Dave would say is the Bob video?
I did work on the Bob video, known as a Bob music video. And there's even more controversy to that, because it was probably one of my biggest ups on a job.
Oh, wow.
To which Al was super angry, which Al super angry is like someone slightly annoyed to most people. But I knew him well enough to be like, oh my God, he's livid.
Oh no.
So I will admit this here and only here, because I don't think Al's too nice, I think, to have told anybody, although maybe he did. I totally messed up. So as you know, they're all palindromes, right?
Yes.
Yes.
One thing you don't want to do in a palindrome is misspell something.
Oh no.
Oh no.
And I would never throw anybody under the bus, but my art director wrote them, and she misspelled something, and literally none of us caught it. We didn't catch it on set. The DP didn't catch it. Al didn't catch it. The script supervisor didn't catch it. None of us caught it. And it wasn't until Al was cutting.
No.
And he called me and was like, I can't remember which card it was. He's like, you spelled blah, blah, blah. And I was like, no, we didn't. He's like, yeah, I'm looking at it right now. And he had to spend his own money and digitally fix it.
No way.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I mean, now it would be like, right click 7 and it would like fix it.
Right.
But back then it was a deal. Like they probably had to go in and like rotoscope shit, and I'm sure it was a pain in the ass, and I know it was very expensive. And he probably hated me for a long time, even though it wasn't me, it was my art director. But it was awful. I felt so bad.
No.
Oh, wow.
So we almost derailed the Bob video or the Bob music video.
Oh, geez.
Do you want to take a stance, or do you want to remain agnostic on the debate?
Oh, I don't know. I'm gonna be on the fence on that one.
Okay.
Give me more of the backstory of why it's such an issue. Why?
So let me jump in here. So
yeah, give your pitch.
So when Poodle Hat was released, Weird Al was planning on doing a video for Couch Potato, and I don't know if you were involved in that, and maybe we can talk about that if you were. But at some point he did not get clearance from Eminem to be able to do that video.
Right.
So it was late enough in the process that the album had to come out. The album came out, and he basically said, well, this album just doesn't have a music video. So then my understanding is when they were filming Al TV, he needed some segments to fill up. And that's when he decided, well, Bob would be a great segment for Al TV because it would help promote the album, and it's, a funny visual thing, and it would fill up time in the special that he was doing. He had said when that came out and in interviews around that time that Bob was never intended to be a music video. It was just intended to be a segment that was created specifically for Al TV. Now I'll let Ethan argue the other side of the story if he wants to.
Well, I mean, it for Bob Dylan, it was a music video. Not that they called it a music video back then.
Right.
So if we did the same thing, wouldn't it also be a music video? Am I getting in trouble with Al right now?
I don't understand why Dave and Al and the others don't think it's a music video. I think regardless of what it was intended to be, it's a music video. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's since shown up on like music video compilations, and a lot of people do refer to it as a music video, but I think the intention at the time was that it would just be a segment on Al TV, and from there it may have morphed, into his video collections and things like that. Just to have some sort of representation for the Poodle Hat album, which had no other music video.
Got it. I see. All right.
Well, sorry to derail this interview with that.
But that said, would you like to weigh in or still remain?
Yeah, this is way more convoluted than I thought it would be.
Yeah, there's a big controversy in the Weird Al universe over this.
Like the JFK assassination. This is a big deal. Yeah, so I'll use this podcast to officially apologize to Al. Not that I haven't already, probably 26 times, but I did mess up Bob. I'm the person. I'm responsible, even though it wasn't me. It was my art director, but she still worked under me, so still my fault. Still my fault.
Wow, that's an incredible story. I don't know that I've heard that before. That's incredible.
That's nice. That's just Al being nice, because if I were him, I would have told everybody.
I'm obsessed now trying to figure out which one it is. I'm going to have to do that later and go frame by frame.
I watched yesterday and I was like, I'm sure I'll be able to figure out. And I could not.
Wow.
But it's funny because I could see which ones, I knew which ones I drew and which ones my art director drew, just because I know my writing and her writing.
Oh, cool.
And it was funny. So I could narrow it down somewhat because she was a horrible speller, but I still couldn't figure out. They did a great job, whoever did the post on it.
It's incredible.
Maybe he got our friends from Lucasfilm to be like, hey, can you fix this?
Maybe that's what he went to Lucasfilm
Yes,
for.
exactly.
Them,
Had
CGI
nothing
it
to
in.
do with Saga Begins.
Now, how many takes was Bob shot in?
I can't remember, but I think it was a healthy amount because I know we were there for the full day.
Okay, but it's all one continuous shot.
Yeah, it is. But I mean, as you know, like he's a pro, so I can't remember what we figured out with the cards to make them easier. And I feel like we were on the ground scooping them up so they didn't like pop back into frame and things like that.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I think we also had. We must have had doubles too, just in case they got messed up. Or no, you know what? I think we had sound blankets on the ground to kind of also like protect them so they didn't hit the nasty downtown alley floor.
And do you have any idea what Jay and John were talking about in the background?
No, that was funny though. That always made me laugh watching them in the back.
Yeah, they're very invested in the conversation.
Yeah.
That was shot on location, right? Not like on a soundstage.
Yeah. No, it was downtown LA and some nasty alley down there. But it looked great. I thought it looked very appropriate for what we wanted to do.
And you brought in like the set dressings, like the garbage cans, or the garbage and the boxes and things like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Are the signs, are those something that have lasted the test of time? Are they somewhere?
No, I do not know. They are gone, I think.
After the mess up, you had to destroy
after
them.
the mess up, I'm sure someone burned them in anger. Yeah. Every time after that job, though, if we had something that like needed to be like double checked and spelled, like all I had to do with my crew was be like, "Is this Bob again? Do we want to do Bob again?" They'd be like, "Oh, shit, you're right. Let's read it one more time." And also, Al is like, it's the last person you want to do that to. It's
Right.
it's like the parent that's like, "I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed." You're like, oh. No, be mad. I'd rather be mad.
So after Poodle Hat came straight out of Linwood, did you work on White and Nerdy?
No, I didn't, and I was so sad because I had been working on some TV show and I had been on the show for a while, and then Al asked me to do that video, and unfortunately, I had already booked a vacation.
Oh.
Oh wow.
He wasn't happy about it. And I was so bummed. And I literally did, like, I was like, can I push this? Can I change it? But there were like deposits and things. And I was like,
man.
I will lose a lot of money if I do this. So I was so bummed because I love that song. And then, of course, later being like, oh, I could have worked with Key and Peele. That would have been great.
Right.
Right.
Such a bummer. Of course, my mind goes, I could have done their show. I could have been nominated for an Emmy for that show. I could have, it's like,
Right. Oh, man.
Stupid vacation. But I remember he was really bummed, but not as bummed as I was. So, yeah, I wasn't able to do that, unfortunately. But I did do Perform This Way later.
Ooh. That is a really interesting one.
Yeah, it was a weird one.
For Weird Al standards, it's even weird.
Exactly. It's true. I was like, okay, for the fourth time, talk me through it again. It's like, my face is going to be replaced. I'm like, how are you going to match the movements of a dancer? And he was like, I'm just going to do it. And he did it. It was crazy. Yeah, I remember one of the hardest challenges on that job was, he was like, I need a train to go around my hat. It's like, okay, but we figured it out. We did it.
That was actually one thing I specifically was going to ask you about from this video. I was like, I saw that and I was like, I bet Dan somehow figured that out. So what was the solution?
It was literally like we got a bunch of different remote controlled trains and different tracks, and like, it was hard to like get one that could make that tight of a circle and actually work. And it just it worked. It finally worked. And then I think we made there was like a hero newspaper that he has to crumple up. Says
Yes.
like
Gaga
fail
fail.
Yes.
something. Yeah, Gaga fail. Yeah,
So you created that as well.
yeah, I did, and may own one right now.
Any idea what it says on the newspaper? Like, was it just, lorem ipsum, or?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't think we wrote something specific for that. It's funny because I do that now. I worked on the show Arrested Development, and literally everything that shows up on camera, you have to have, like, if we show a magazine, it had to have, we would actually literally write an article that backed up whatever
Whoa.
it was. But I think back, I don't think it probably was lorem ipsum, is my guess. But I'll go back because I think I have one at home.
If you have one, we would love to see a picture of it and actually be able to read it.
Cool. I will do that for you.
That's awesome.
But just don't tell Al I have that.
Okay.
This isn't going to air anywhere, right? This
No.
is just us chatting.
Yeah, private conversation. Private.
Okay, great.
Yeah. We'll just tell Al not to listen to that part.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. I'll ask Suzanne to like distract him during that part.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we'll send you the timestamp and then send it to her.
Thank you. Yeah. She's so awesome. She would do that.
Yeah.
Like, okay, you got it. Yes.
I gotta ask you though, Dan, for the stuff that you're doing for Arrested Development and any other thing where you're filling out an entire magazine or newspaper page like that, do you have somebody proofread it before it goes up on the air?
Yes, we do, more than a few times. And on Arrested Development, it would often be Mitch Hurwitz who would then rewrite it to be incredibly amazing. But yeah, we would. That was nuts. But it's funny. I have an art director now. This guy, Jack Carnivale, and he's so good at that kind of stuff, and he kind of likes doing that. So if we have weird things where we'll have like an article or something, he'll be like, "I'll write it," and he'll literally just like go at his computer, and like 2 hours later, like, "This is a really in-depth article about this." It's like, "Yeah, no, I know." It's so wild. I'm like, well, shouldn't you be working on art department stuff right now?
Oh, that's amazing. I love that. I love that attention to detail.
Yeah, that's the fun stuff too. It's like a lot of times you never see it or people don't notice it, but when they do, it's like so great.
Oh, it's mind-blowing. Yeah.
Which was, that was like probably, one of the most fun parts of doing Weird was like, okay, like we already know that like Al fans are so serious and so into this, like let's try to drop in as many Easter eggs as we can.
Oh, well,
yeah.
we have plenty of questions about that stuff. Don't you worry.
Awesome.
There's a couple more things. Perform This Way is just so visual, so prop heavy, so everything. So I just want to ask you about some of this stuff and if you were responsible for sourcing it or creating it or what, like things like that bubble dress and the horse head hat, the Swiss cheese.
No, it's funny. I can't remember who did wardrobe. They were amazing. They did all that stuff. I think I feel like we assisted on the meat dress.
Okay.
Okay.
I know we did the USDA button
Right.
piece on it.
Sticker, yeah.
But I think they did the bulk of that, which they did such a great
okay.
job
Wow.
on. Yeah.
Was it fake meat or was it real meat?
Yeah, I think it was real meat.
Oh.
Which is probably torture for Al.
Yeah.
As you know, as a vegetarian.
Oh, man. And at the beginning of the video, of course, Al Gaga is hatched from an egg. Were you involved in the egg?
Oh yeah, that was probably the most expensive part of the shoot. Was we had to have the egg built, and I got like, I got a crazy deal from this company, but it was still like more money than we had spent on any one item in an Al video ever.
Oh wow.
And they were like, "Are you serious?" And I'm like, guys, this was like, it was supposed to be like, I don't know what the final number was like. It's supposed to be like 15,000, and I got them to do it for 5,000 or something.
Oh wow.
But it was a lot of money, but it looked great. The funny thing about that was afterward was, I guess it was Al that was like, that could be really fun in my daughter's room. It could be like a little reading pod for Nina. So later we brought it up to her house, and it was funny because I talked to his daughter not that long ago, and she goes, "That was my bed for a long time."
No way.
She was like,
wow.
She was like, I loved that thing so much.
Oh.
And then it was funny because I did a job like I don't know, a while ago, like 8 years ago or something. And I was like, I remember texting Suzanne. I was like, "Hey, is the egg there? I could actually really use it on this shoot." And she's like, "No." She's like, "That thing fell apart like years ago." But I'm glad it went to good use.
Yeah, what a shame it would have been to be thrown out. I'm so glad that it,
I know,
had a greater purpose.
Yeah, what a lovely story.
That's incredible.
But they did a great job at fabricating it, and they were also like crazy Al fans. I've never really come across something where people haven't been Al fans.
Right. How are you how can someone be in a creative industry and not at least like Al,
Seriously, yeah. It's like people that would like him, I wouldn't want to work with. Anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's a great like litmus test of like, are we gonna get along?
We need to stop the interview right there, but we're just scratching the surface of Dan's 25-year career working with Weird Al. So we will be back with part 2 of our interview with Dan on the next episode.
But in the meantime, we'd love to thank Dan for sharing so much incredible information with us. We cannot wait for you to hear more of this excellent interview.
Oh, that sound means we have a call on the 347 Spatula Hotline, the official hotline of Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast.
All right, intern Frank, let's hear it.
Hey, David Ethan, this is your old pal, Sheepdog David Grant, a.k.a. MC Chalkskin, a.k.a. And I am just, a.k.a. wolfandwool.com. And I am just calling to wish you a very happy 203rd episode. Unless you play this on the 202nd or 204th episode, in which case I'm wishing you a happy one of those. Okay, bye-bye!
Aw, thank you, David. So nice to hear from you, and thank you for the well wishes.
This episode is brought to you in part by Discover Darwin, promoting tourism in Darwin, Minnesota. Not only is historic Darwin, Minnesota beautiful, it's also almost Twine Ball Day.
Wait a minute, did you say it's almost Twine Ball Day? That happened already last Saturday.
Yes, of course, but you do realize the next one is only 361 days away, don't you?
Oh my goodness, is that going to be enough time? So many things to prepare for. Oh, so many events to sanction.
Well, let's just use this time to review what did and didn't work from the 32nd annual event this past weekend.
Well, the Twine K was a ball.
Oh, sounds like we're gonna keep it then.
And I heard the beanbag tournament was a great twine.
Ha, definitely we'll have to do that again next year.
Oh, get this. By all accounts, the Grand Parade was a real Francis A. Johnson.
So visit Darwin, Minnesota on your next sanctioned expedition. Discover Darwin, more than just the twine ball. And after you visit Darwin, Minnesota, be sure to attempt to visit discoverdarwin.biz.
Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast is brought to you absolutely free thanks to our incredible sponsors, Burrito, Wizard Burger, Jackson Scoggins, and Discover Darwin.
Our podcast is also supported by everyone else in our Patreon family, with special thanks to our amazing close personal friend level Patreon supporters, Scott, UH Jeff, Matt, Kenneth, Gus and Alicia, Allison, Adriana, Ajax, Jake, Zeb, Zach, Dana B, Blair, Kev, Javier, and Ron. Also thanks to Spunky Siren and everyone else in our pretty stinking majestic Patreon family.
If you enjoy our family-friendly Weird Al podcast, please consider supporting us over at patreon.com/2000inch. There are awesome benefits like getting your name on the podcast, your own private RSS feed, which gives you early access to each and every one of our bonus episodes, and the self-satisfaction of doing something important with your otherwise pitiful, meaningless existence.
And now would be a good time to join if you haven't already, because you'll be the very first to hear each and every one of our remaining brand new, ridiculously self-indulgent bonus episodes the instant that they drop. And don't forget to check out our official merchandise shop over at shop.2000inch.com. All proceeds from purchases go directly towards supporting our fine podcast.
And we love hearing from our listeners and other Weird Al fans, so be sure to join our Facebook community over at group.2000inch.com, and make sure you visit our Discord server for even more riveting Weird Al and Red Rumped Agouti related conversations. You can find both of them linked on our website, as well as information about past episodes and guests over at 2000inch.com or weirdalpodcast.com.
And while you're there, be sure to click on Ridiculously Self-Indulgent bonus episodes to follow along with our adventures on tour, or click on Black and White and Weird All Over bonus episodes for our special series where author and birthday boy John Bermuda Schwartz walks us through his first book, page by page and picture by picture.
Keep up on new episodes, podcast news, and events by following at 2000inch on Facebook, X, and Instagram. And be sure to subscribe everywhere you listen to podcasts so you do not miss a single episode. Not only does subscribing help the podcast, it'll make the paint peel off your walls.
Plus, we also love it when we receive voicemail via official patent pending 27-hour-day podcast hotline 347 Spatula, as seen in the Illustrated Al. That number is 347-772-8852. Give it a call. You might even hear your message in a future episode of Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast.
Thank you once again to our amazing guest, Dan Butts, for joining us this episode.
We also want to thank Erica Pell, Sam, David Grant, Eddie Schmidt, and thank you to Grammy Award-winning Jim Kimmel West for our incredible podcast theme song. Thank you to the Emmy-nominated Weird Al Yankovic, as this podcast probably would not exist without him. And a big thanks to all of you, our loyal listeners, subscribers, Patreon supporters, and sponsors, and everyone else who makes our podcast possible.
Thank you for choosing Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast. And until next time, remember to give and chill, keep listening to Weird Al, and stay cheesy.
Our hearts go out to all of those affected and displaced by the terrible wildfires in Hawaii. Dave and I recently visited Hawaii during the 2023 unfortunate return of the ridiculously self-indulgent, ill-advised vanity tour, and saw firsthand what a special, wonderful place the islands of Hawaii are and the wonderful people who live there.
From all of us here at Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast, we are sending our deepest condolences to the victims and the families, and hope the communities can rebuild quickly and stronger.
We urge you to donate and support the various charities helping those affected, such as the Red Cross. For information, you can head to redcross.org/Hawaii. Well, Dave, we somehow managed to not make it through yet another episode without bringing up the whole "is Bob a music video or not" controversy.
Well, I don't see what the controversy is. Bob is clearly not a music video.
What? It's got music and it's a video? What else do you need?
Well, I don't think we're going to settle this now. I guess we're just going to have to agree to disagree.
Do you think we'll ever be able to agree on whether Bob is a music video or not?
Well, that depends on whether or not if we can agree if hot dogs are sandwiches or not.
Well, I mean, it's a good thought exercise, but really, aren't hot dogs really just in a category of their own? You know, neither sandwich nor not sandwich?
Well, I think you're forgetting that this was actually settled way back in 1989.
The Bob controversy was?
No, the hot dog controversy.
The hot dog controversy? 1989? How so?
Weird Al declared it was a sandwich. How easily do you forget the Twinkie Wiener sandwich?
That was Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast, episode 203-inch.
Not once did we make a joke about Dan's last name.
We have a big no dick policy.